Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode number 4 of Tomahawk Talk, of course, presented by Friends of Pontiac Football. And on this episode, driven by Heller Motors. I'm Jake Green alongside Mark Myre and Tim Scott. Gentlemen, it's nice to see you once again as we talk Indian football.
Good to see you.
Jake, how's it going, my man?
It's going well, Tim. Tell you what, guys, we are going to wrap up what this 2025 season for the Indians has been on the field, on the gridiron. The last 3 weeks of the year, Monticello, Bloomington Central Catholic, and St. Joe. And to do that, we got to welcome in our friend, Coach Gadberry. Coach, thanks for taking some time with us today.
How we doing, guys? Excited to be here. Good seeing you.
Good seeing you, Coach.
Let's just start straight off, gents. Monticello on the road. If I had to say one thing about this game, and I think I said this a few times in the past, and this could probably apply to a couple of games this year, but I think Monticello was truly one that got away. I look at the score; it was 27-6, the final, and that just doesn't justify the Indians' efforts. I feel like that night. I feel like that game was played a lot more closely. Tim and I were there with my camera guy Ryan. But Tim, I mean, what was your thoughts on Monticello as we start here?
Well, tough for me to remember day to day, much less 3 weeks back. But, Coach, if memory serves correctly, you probably could say that for the majority of your last 3 games, with the exception of the second quarter of Central Catholic. The fact being, you moved the ball from 20 to 20, but it was shooting yourself in the foot or just not making plays. They had a great quarterback, and you understand why they won. But the program and your efforts certainly much closer than last year when we toted up with them. And I thought, to the kids' credit, that you're moving in the right direction. Monticello, awfully good team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you said it best. There was it came down to what we did in the red zone. I think we were 1 for 4, getting any kind of points down in the red zone, and we had over 330 yards of total offense that night. So it was just not finding ways to finish drives, cap drives off with points. A little bit of that's play calling. Hey, how can we do some things differently when we get down inside the 20? Because we're going to see a couple of different things. But then it also comes down to the kids making plays. And, I think we saw some of that stuff improve from a red zone standpoint the last couple of weeks of the year as we kind of changed our approach once we got down in there. But yeah, I mean, Monticello is a good football team. They're still playing. Tough place to play on the road there, and was really proud of our effort. Was really proud of how the kids fought for 4 quarters, and I wouldn't say we didn't make enough plays. I just think we made too many little mistakes to beat a good football team in a game like that.
Yeah, you mentioned the fact being with them. One thing was the difference. Their quarterback, very athletic, and he certainly makes that team go. And as you mentioned, 4 teams out of our conference, the 4 names you would think made the playoffs. 3 of them won easily week 1, and St. Joe Ogden, to their credit, they won 17-14, if I remember right. So, and you went toe-to-toe with each one of those programs, and Monticello was the first there on the last 3 weeks. And again, but boy, that quarterback, he's tough to defend.
Yeah, he's the real deal, and when he's able to do it with both his legs and his arm, it brings a little bit different dimension when you're trying to defend a kid like that. And he played a ton of defense for him as a sophomore and junior. He's not a true quarterback; he's just a tremendous athlete, and we'll be excited to see him outside of the conference next year. That way, we don't have to prepare for him anymore. But no, obviously, we play in a tough conference. A lot of teams still playing. I was talking over the weekend with some of the guys that, our 6 losses, 5 of them were playoff teams, and 5 of them are still playing. So it just goes to show the strength of our schedule. And it was awesome to see our kids compete and look like they belong against some of that competition.
Well, also in the terms of the fact of what your kids did, and I know maybe it was the last show, maybe it was one of the pregame shows, you commented, when things go well for us, we run to our left side. And you talked about 300-plus yards. That's a lot of yardage in a high school football game. And a lot of that went to your left side and those people up front doing their job.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I think we just got better as the year went on. We were playing our best football the last 3, 4 weeks of the season. We had a ton of key injuries defensively. We didn't play well enough defensively to win games down the stretch against good teams. But offensively, man, we took a huge step forward in the right direction, even from a year or two ago. So having a kid like Jaden Reed who went for he had 3 100+ yard games, 3 out of the last 5 games of the season. Being able to get behind an offensive line that was starting to get some momentum, especially our left side and Donovan and Hunter, and but then also being able to get to a couple of different things when the run game maybe isn't always there. Making teams, hey, worry about what we're doing inside the box. Other things open up outside, and I think that's why guys like Amazing King and Brody Carr had some success on the perimeter. I will say I think Monticello. Before we move on, I think that was AJ DeLong's best game of his career. He ran for a touchdown. He was 20 of 29 for 221 yards. He threw an interception very late in that game, trying to make a play for us in the back of the end
That's
zone.
right.
But I challenged that kid halfway through the year. As a senior, I challenged him, and he answered the call. And I thought he was playing his best football the last 3 weeks of the year, and I couldn't ask for anything more from him.
As a coach, you got to love the way your kids improve from early to late. I mean, you got to love the excitement here in this town.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's your goal, right? Is to get better every week, and we really put an emphasis on that this year. And guys, I'd love to see wins in the column. Everybody would, but darn it, we got a lot better. And I think to take this momentum going into the offseason, knowing what we got coming back, knowing that there's going to be some excitement around us, we're getting there. We're getting there, and just excited to be a part of it.
Coach, you mentioned how you kind of challenged quarterback AJ DeLong, and I think that was kind of seen. It really wasn't a true spoken word. I think I may have mentioned a couple of tads at Monticello on, hey, you can kind of see what coach is doing here, but you had Josh Harkey come in and play some snaps there. Almost not really challenging for a spot, I would say, but kind of also putting in perspective that, hey, like there's some things here that maybe needs to change and maybe to open up some eyes. Is there anything you can comment there on your choice and how you approached their quote unquote challenge for AJ?
I think it's just continuing to build competition within your football program. Um, Obviously going into the year, you got ideas of where guys are going to play, where everybody's going to fit, where the chips are going to fall. But at the same time, I feel like, in order to be successful in this conference, you got to bring your best every day. And, that was one of the challenges I presented to a number of guys in our program, not just AJ. And I thought a lot of them answered the bell, and AJ included.
Coach, thank you. Of
Go,
course, no, go ahead, Tim. No,
no,
yes, go
go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead, Jake.
I was going to send us out of our segment, but Tim, if you have one more thing, go ahead, please.
No, one thing I wanted, one of the play selections, and I thought was kind of neat, latter part of the year was the screenplay and the screen pass. You set up, Coach, you set up a couple of those in strategically key moments, and the kids executed. It reminded me of yesteryear with the screen and that on the offensive side of things, where probably a little more growth, a little more development. Defensively, I know you're banged up as the year progressed. A lot of two-way players.
Yeah.
Something obviously I'm sure you're aware of, and you'll try to tweak with more bodies and getting better. But I loved a couple of play calls, and Reed and Carr in particular offensively. I thought they really exploded as the year went along.
Yeah, it makes my job easy when you got good players. They're good
Yes, it
players.
does.
That's plain and simple. Give them the tools to go be successful. And I didn't throw a pass on Friday nights. I didn't block anybody. I didn't tackle anybody. Those kids went out and did it. And I think for the first time since I've been here, the last 3 or 4 weeks of the season, I really felt like, okay, we can open some things up offensively. We can be a little bit more aggressive. Throw a little bit more at these guys from a game plan perspective week to week, and they took it and ran with it. And when you get some of those guys like Ben and Jaden and Brody and Mason out in space, you're going to see good things happen.
Yep.
I know the old Hall football coach once said, you got to have horses to run a race. You got to have thoroughbreds to win the race. And that's the way it is.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. We're getting there. We're getting closer.
No doubt. No
Jake,
doubt.
go ahead.
Thank you, Tim. Mark, Coach, of course. Yeah, I try and keep everyone on a train track, but sometimes it's good to have those extra on those extra deals. But hey, tell you what, we're gonna take a moment. We're gonna step aside, thank some partners. But when we come back, a special guest joins us, a mentor of mine and everyone that we all know. John Neisler comes to talk about the Pontiac Performance Program and what he's been doing at the Pontiac High School. We'll talk to John here after the break.
Tomahawk Talk is built by Abraham Masonry. Tomahawk Talk is driven by Heller Motors. Tomahawk Talk is financed by the Bank of Pontiac. Tomahawk Talk is founded by Fellheimer Law Firm. DPI is a proud sponsor of Tomahawk Talk.
And we're back from the break. Jake Green, Mark Myre, and Tim Scott. Gentlemen, we have a very special guest with us today. Coach Gadberry is here, but also Pontiac Athletic Director John Neisler joins us to talk about the Pontiac Performance Program. Coach Neisler, thanks for coming in today.
Yeah, glad to be here, Jake.
So run me through. You have a Tuesday morning, 7 to 7:30 meeting discussion, but it's about kind of a mindset in sports. Run me through how that came about and what it is.
Yeah, as a coach myself and athletic director now, I firmly believe that like the athletic side of the thing, the physical side of the thing is only half the battle, if even half the battle, right? And so the other side of that is training the brain to get our kids to be resilient, getting our kids to understand how to battle through adversity, how to better have positive self-talk and stay encouraged and things like that. And so Tuesday mornings, I started this program. It's to take a little bit off of our coaches, right? To help provide some of that learning to our kids so our coaches don't necessarily have to do that during practice and they can focus on the skills and the X's and O's. And then I kind of do my side of trying to help them build maybe a vocabulary of their own that they can better take into practice, but also just give the kids the opportunity to learn some skills to help that mental side.
Now, you explained it, but why was that important for you to do? Now, that's a thought you could have and something that you'd like the kids to develop. But why did you personally really want to do that?
I think that we all hear from people all the time, like our kids are different these days and they're not as tough as they were and that kind of thing. But I think you can look in our conference at football and go, listen, our football conference is tough. We got good players. We got hard players that are battle tested. And so part of me just goes, it's not our kids that are different. It's what we're teaching our kids. And so the question that I always brought in is, are we teaching our kids? And I ask the coaches this all the time. Are we teaching our kids? When we say we need you to be tougher, when we say we need you to be more resilient, do our kids know what that looks like and what that means? And for me personally, I grew up with a dad that was my coach, and I don't remember really being taught these things. It's just kind of how my brain works. And I think Coach Gadberry and I've had that conversation. Like, we were both pretty good athletes in our own rights, and don't really remember being told how to do that or how to develop those skills. But some kids do, right? And so for me, as I started to read as a coach and dive into the mental performance side of things, I went, you know what? Wow, I'm learning how to put words to the things that I've just kind of always naturally felt. And so I really felt over the last couple of years this need to provide that, share it with our coaches and with our kids.
Coach Gadberry, how have you seen that affect your program? I understand a few of our football players have attended those meetings. Who has attended those, if you know, and how have you kind of seen that help start to affect, the mindset of those players?
Yeah, I think we've had a number of guys show. I know there's been some more frequent flyers than others. Logan Mackinson, Hunter McCullough, TJ Murphy, guys like that seem to always be in there. I think what it's done for us is it's kind of give on our kids the skills and the tools to take the next step. Obviously my job, like you mentioned, is teaching the kids, the physical skills, the fundamentals of the game of football. But I think he's doing the most important part, which is giving them an idea of what it takes to be a better teammate, what it takes to be a better leader, how to deal with adversity, how to show up prepared to a competition or a practice. And I think the biggest thing that it's doing for our athletic program is building a culture. As a football coach, you talk about building a culture within your football program. John's trying to build a culture within all of athletics here at Pontiac Township High School. And it gives him a voice. It gets student athletes in front of him. Not very many athletic directors are up at 7 a.m. on a Tuesday morning talking about mental performance with their athletes. They're just not. So I think just giving Coach Neisler a voice, providing our student athletes with the tools that they need to take a step forward from a mental side of things. I think that's going to be a game changer for us as he builds this, as we gain some traction here, moving forward in the right direction.
Mark, Tim, questions for Coach Neisler or Coach Gadbury?
Well, Coach Gadbury, the only question I got for you: if John just would scream and yell at the kids from 7 to 7:30, wouldn't that tough them up like the old 70s? Probably.
Yeah.
Huh?
Hey, said we played in the 70s, right?
Yeah, I don't know how they'd respond. Again, he'd be taking
that was yesteryear.
that work for me, right? I'll let John go be the bad guy, and I'll be the good guy, be nice to him. But no, he does a great
Scream
job.
and yell for 30 and then give him some breakfast.
I'll say one thing. The athletes, okay, you look at the athlete here in 2025, they are stronger, more physical, more quicker. I mean, they are outstanding athletes. And you put that little mental game in a little bit, you got a kid running through a major wall then, boy, they're tough.
Yeah, and like to your point, Tim, like there was a time when that was like the coaching thing, right? I mean, I can even remember growing up in the early 2000s, right?
Yeah.
With, oh man, I don't want to go play football. Listen to those coaches over there. I was a cross country guy, right? So I got to listen to that. But I think that today's world of technology and everything, right? Like we're talking about our kids haven't grown up with the toughness to be able to handle that sometimes, right? And I do think that back in the day, kids, maybe that worked better or worked, maybe not better, but it worked because kids actually grew up in a way that they were ready to withstand and be resilient to that. And they aren't necessarily today. And I'm not going to sit here and advocate and think that Coach Gadbury needs to go out there and yell and scream at the kids because I don't think that's the most effective way to do it. And I'm really grateful that he doesn't coach that way. But I do think that that helping our kids manage it, it's not the yelling and screaming today. It's the comments on Facebook. It's the things that happen on Instagram and Snapchat, right? That it gets in your brain and really seeds. It puts seeds of fear and doubt, right? That then show up as a lack of resilience or a lack of toughness. And really, it's just we need to build some self-confidence. We need to build. Today's lesson was about learning to be an optimist, right? And that optimism really means believing the best will happen if we do the right stuff, right? And so there's this conditional statement on that. It's not just this, we wish for the best and so we hope it happens. No, we believe the best is going to happen and then we go do the stuff that's going to make that happen, right? And so it's been a really interesting journey for me as I read more books and learn more from my big just to throw some stuff out there, right? My big emphasis is from Brian Kane. He's a mental performance coach. I've seen him speak a couple of times. Brett Ledbetter has a book out called What Drives Winning. And everything is just centered around values drive our behaviors drive our outcomes. So we got to understand what we stand for. And I'm going to throw this out there that what we as an athletic department identified as the values, we've sorted them into two things: performance skills and character skills. So performance skills being how we interact with ourselves that get us out the door to improve our performance, and moral skills being the things that we do as we interact with others that maybe make us better teammates, better classmates, better friends. So the performance skills that our coaches said, we want people to say this about our kids. We want our kids to be positive. We want them to be resilient. We want them to be disciplined. We want them to be accountable. And then on the moral side, our coaches identified we want our kids to be respectful, unselfish, encouraging, and loyal. And so those are the 8 skills that we as an athletic department are really kind of focused on with our kids. And and what I'm trying to help us attain, and go, hey, you know what? If your positivity isn't where you need it to be, here are ways, real strategies that you as a student can take to help change your self-talk so that it's more positive and less negative. To turn off those negative comments, or here's how you use airplane, or here's how you use do not disturb mode on your phone so that you can gain focus, and that sort of thing. So just trying to get not only that intangible, but also the real skills that the kids can take away.
Coach, when you look at that, that's outstanding points.
No kidding.
Do you find yourself having plays on the iPad more phone stuff for the kids and their off time a little bit? Are they more technology driven with the football program?
Oh, absolutely. We don't hand out a paper playbook anymore. I know.
Well, we don't want anybody to steal it, right?
Yeah, that'd be just it. But no, I mean, the kids have gotten to a point where their playbook's on them all the time if they've got their phone on them, which majority of the time they do. Obviously we take advantage and utilize film, not only for games but practices. So them to have that phone where they can pull up film and notes that we make as coaches and review things. That's obviously a game changer for us. I know our Josh Meisner, he kind of heads up our weights PE program. Uses Platform. It's essentially like a online profile for strength and conditioning. Gives kids workouts, different lessons, everything that they can look at right there at the tip of their finger. And I think that that's what good coaches and good leaders do is they adapt, right? The kids are changing. We got to change a little bit too. How can we build relationships with them, and how can we, make things easier for them so that they can go perform at a high level?
So the more the motto was we played, the more they yell at you, the more they love you is gone, correct?
For most, there's some that are still like that, but yeah.
I do think though that there's still truth in like when your coach stops giving you,
you're in trouble.
Yep.
That's when you're in trouble, right? I think that there's still truth to that, guys.
I did not realize that was happening up at the high school. John, that's great stuff that you're doing.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I get the Cubs to win the World Series. It's great.
Jake, did you want to say something?
Oh no, guys, no, I don't. I just am here. I produce it and I leave. Apparently, we have Mark Myre and Tim Scott, and then the new version of Mark Myre and Tim Scott sitting in the other side of evidently. I need a partner myself. I don't know. I guess I have Biggie. Biggie can be my partner. No, I kind of giggled a little bit earlier. We had to teach Tim how to use Do Not Disturb actually at the beginning of this show. So
I knew that at least.
Yeah.
Don't
Coach,
Snapchat him because he don't have.
Yeah, there's no Snapchat in my world.
That would be a very interesting day, gentlemen. But before we get too far off, Coach, we talked about throughout the middle half of the year there that you really saw the kids starting to play for the name on the front of their jersey and not for the name on their back. And that is just, they're playing for Pontiac football. They're not playing for their own highlight reel. Do you think that Coach Neisler's program has helped with that, but also, as you can see those kids start to evolve, what has that meant as they've really started to hone in on, we want the program to be better. We don't want me individually to be the star. If that makes sense with you.
Yeah, obviously, I think what John's done since he's been here in changing a culture and getting kids to believe in themselves and buy into what we're trying to accomplish as Pontiac. I think it's just practice what you preach. I think the kids respond well to what I do, what my coaching staff does. You'll notice a number of guys on our staff that are from Pontiac that played Pontiac football here or another sport. And then we get involved in the community. Like, I want our kids to feel like it's important to be involved from a community service standpoint. So not only just saying, hey, we're going to play for the name on the front of our jersey, but going out and doing it, putting in the community service hours, going and laying it on the line for 4 quarters on a Friday night. I think that that's what the best football programs in the state do, and we're going to continue to work to build that.
And let's face it, positive feeds positive. I mean, it always has, always will. You know, in sales or whatever it might be when the future growing up, whatever they do, you stay positive, you soar.
Absolutely, absolutely. You got to find the good because there's always some good in there. And I think going into this year from a football standpoint, our main goal was we just got to get a little bit better every day. We got to get 1% better every day. Our kids did that in a number of different ways, not only on the football field but in the community, in the classroom. As we'll talk about some of our honor roll and perfect attendance kids, but they're making a difference in this community, and that's extremely important to us.
It's awesome.
Mark, Tim, final thoughts with Coach Neisler and his program.
No, I think it's outstanding. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about that.
Coach Neisler and I have worked pretty closely together. If you've been around Pontiac athletics a few years back now, but you probably saw us together quite a bit, and John probably had a look on his face like, God, get this kid away from me. But he's really he's given a lot of extra time to a lot of different things, broadcasting being one of them at the high school. And as we look into holiday tournament time, as that starts to roll more time with that, more time trying to evolve our broadcasting club, a lot of equipment and research, just trying to make everything better. And I think this goes along with that too. So kudos to you. Thank you for what you're doing. Good job with what you're doing. I don't know if many people tell you that, but you're doing well. Coach, obviously, you guys are now in the office together, and strong office there. For that, though, we are going to step aside, thank some more partners, and when we come back, we'll talk about Bloomington Central Catholic in senior night here on Tomahawk Talk.
Tomahawk Talk would like to thank all of our sponsors that make this show possible.
Welcome back, and Mark Myre, Tim Scott, Jake Green. Coach Neisler has left us, but now we talk about Bloomington Central Catholic and senior night. I was gone working in Ohio, but Mark and Tim, you guys were there, and it sounded like, at least to start, that game was a dogfight with one of the state's best teams.
I thought the Saints came marching in, and the Pontiac Indians came right back at them. Coach, this is a great ball game. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, we came ready to play, man. We came ready to play, and they marched right down the field on us in our first series, and we knew that we had to make a couple adjustments, and we did after that first series. And our Jaden Reed's a good player. He scored twice there in the first quarter for us.
He turned the tackle on the corner. He's gone.
Yeah, he can run. He's quick. But no, we put together some nice drives. Our guys made some plays offensively, and at times we looked like a defense that could stop one of the best in the state. And we had our all-conference meeting last night, and he's rushed for over 2,000 yards, number 6 for Central Catholic. He's obviously one of the best players in the state of Illinois, I think, and to be able to manage him and slow him down for at least a quarter there. We just kind of ran out of gas again, getting late in the year, and defense is a little bit banged up. We've got a number of guys going two ways, and when they run the ball 85% of the time and do it at a high clip, at some point we're going to start to fatigue. And we did that, but I was more excited about how we played in the second half. Watching them the two previous weeks, teams would kind of play with them for a quarter or two, and then they would just put it on them, score 60-some points, and just really get after people in the second half. And we gave up one score in the second half. We had a couple of nice stops defensively, put together a couple of nice drives, and we're able to score again there in the second half. And overall, it was probably the time as a coach where it's like, okay, yeah, we are getting there. Obviously week 8, late in the year, but we're definitely starting to see our kids compete and play at a high level.
Well, Powell is unbelievable. He is unbelievable. He's a great player.
Yep, he's probably, I'd say he's the best I've seen since I've been here in our conference. I think he is. I really do.
Coach, they got six. They're the number one team in the conference, and there's a reason for it. They are talented at a lot of spots. And you talked about it. I really think you guys just got worn down. And you got to make plays every single time somebody's running the ball or throwing the ball. And you got to remember, Brady wasn't even in there as the quarterback.
Yeah.
He made plays in the defensive backfield. And he's a solid kid, and you understand why they could go on a run and win the 3A title. But you went toe-to-toe with them 14-14, and then 28 straight in that second quarter. As you mentioned, the second half went back to them toe-to-toe. So, and did not get blown out. So, to the kids' credit, and senior night, and knowing the emotions are high and last home game and all that, I thought it was well represented based upon where your program's at right now.
Well, I appreciate that, and they'll appreciate that. And again, it's starting to mean more to them. It's taking the field, knowing that we're doing this for a reason, and it's bigger than just ourselves. And I think we're starting to see that in the way that they prepare, the way that they practice, how they carry themselves in the hallways. Guys, there wasn't any kind of confidence in these hallways when I first got here, especially from a football standpoint. And just to see our kids walk around with some confidence, knowing that, hey, we can play with these kids. We can play against some of these programs in our conference. A huge step for us. There's no doubt.
Well,
I
you
think
bring next year, and not to bring up next year real quick, but 18 of the 22 bank starters. I mean, the Indians going to be a tough opponent next year.
Yeah, we got to have a good basketball season, obviously, good winter, wrestling, swimming, all that stuff. Then leading into the spring, got a number of guys that wrestle and play basketball. Obviously, Brody swims. Excited to watch him in the pool this year. Just competing. Just keep freaking competing. Play like Pontiac, just keep fighting, keep laying it out there. And I think when we can get to a point where we're consistently doing that as an athletic program, we're going to be fun to watch. And we finally started to see some glimpses of it on the football field.
I think, going back to, like you said, when you first got here, that was my senior year at Pontiac, and you're a couple of years clicked in, and you can see the progression. And like you mentioned, you've seen what the hallways have been like. I, of course, obviously haven't, but I was in those hallways just a couple of years ago, and admittedly, I hate to say it like this, because I feel like I bled orange and blue quite a bit, very involved with athletics, and always had that mindset that, Pontiac versus the world in a sense, but you also had times when football season rolled around where I feel like me and some of my buddies could agree on this, that you you didn't shrug it off completely, but it just wasn't serious because it hadn't been for so many times before us. It had been 5 or 6 years before us, even, at least as we got a little older, that things were on the up. I think it was 2018, 2019. Again, we go back to that, where that was the last really good team in Pontiac that we saw with a winning record playing into the playoffs, and then the nosedive, and then we saw Lowell for a while, and like I said, that gets tough, and so you don't get this a mindset. You go back to mindset. I write with Coach Neisler that it just we lost it. I feel like, and again, I wasn't a player, but just being around the program, you felt that, you know, it wasn't quite there. So does it really matter? Type of vibe. And I think that, that's a commendation to you to say that this is changing, and that it is working, and that the culture is changing, and that 3 years in to where you're at now, we've seen how it matters now more to the kids, and just bringing that up, I think from at least where I was a couple of years ago to where we are now, and knowing that the mindset of it is obviously evolving.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it takes time to turn a big old ship around. You know what I mean? And that's just where we're at. And again, proud of our kids, proud of the program. You look at a 2-7 season, and guys, I want to win more than 2 games. But I know where we're at, and I know where we're headed, and I'm excited about it.
Coach, you look, and I'm not trying to jump the gun, but I'm not saying playoff or bust, but next year, but you'll be close. I'm sure your goal is to get in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean it's funny because beginning of every year you kind of throw out, hey guys, what are some goals for our program? What are some things that you would like to accomplish? And I haven't liked the answers so far, if that makes sense.
Yep.
I think we finally got a little bit of confidence after this year, where we're not going to be saying win a couple of games. We want to make the playoffs. We want to represent this program. We want to represent this community. I would love nothing more than on a Saturday in November for Williamsville to be rocking and packed because it's been too long. So that'll definitely be a goal for us going into 2026.
And a hallway finder. I mean, how many players are out there thinking, man, I'm thinking about it. Those are the ones you got to get.
Yep, absolutely. That's always the mission, right? Always finding more bodies, always finding able bodies, kids that want to be a part of something special. So we'll take anybody who's willing to do it, and it's not easy. I tell our guys that all the time. Not everybody's going to make it to the finish line, but if you do, it's going to be a sweet feeling.
Tim's 69. He might have some high school eligibility.
You got any eligibility left? Hey, nowadays with what you see in college, some of these guys are playing forever.
I got one shot only.
I tell the guys I could probably play 3 downs, but that's about it. I probably got 3 good downs where nobody will want to mess with me. But after that, you probably got a good shot.
3's better than none.
Right?
I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it. Tell you what, talking about goals and I don't know, that was a terrible segue. But what we're going to do in the next segment is we're going to talk about who's been at school every day, perfect attendance, and honor roll. You have to be in the books and be academically sound, also as a part of being athletically sound as well. We're going to talk about success in the classroom when we come back from the break here. Again, Tomahawk Talk, Episode 4, Season 1, driven by Heller Motors here on episode number 4. We'll be back after the break.
Tomahawk Talk would like to thank all of our sponsors that make this show possible.
And welcome back from the break. We talked about Bloomington Central Catholic, and now we're going to talk about some success in the classroom. Mark, Tim, now is some time to really highlight some players that have really gone extra and beyond. Honor roll and perfect attendance, but first, Coach Gadberry, let's get some thoughts on this. Obviously, you want to create this culture football-wise, but also the classroom matters quite a bit too.
Yeah, it's the most important thing. What we accomplish in the classroom, what our grades look like. I think our attendance is extremely important. If you don't show up, you don't got a shot. So just getting the kids in the halls, getting them in the classroom. We have phenomenal teachers and educators here. And we've got a number of kids that do a tremendous job, not only on the football field, but in the classroom, and hoping that they can set themselves up to take the next step with what they're accomplishing here in their education.
Mark, Tim, I know you guys have the names of who has done well. Tim, go ahead, my man.
All right, for perfect attendance, this is Michael Brubaker, Robert Brubaker, Donovan Curry, A.J. DeLong, Caden Ferguson, Traeger Green, Brody Carr, Blaine Kurth, Connor Mackison, Logan Mackison, T.J. Murphy, Zaire Newman Davis, Aiden Olson, Carson Schott, and Adrian White. Hope I got all those names right there. And for the honor roll, and that's again over a 3.0 GPA, which Mark never hit in his lifetime.
I hit a 3.
No, seriously though, this is serious stuff. Sorry about that. Anyway, honor roll over a 3.0 GPA, and it includes Kindness Ajayi, A.J. DeLong, Brody Carr, Zach Ligner, Graham Wolf, Robert Brubaker, Cale Christensen, Durham Fenton, Cesar Gutierrez, Josh Hartke, Colton Henson, Logan Mackison, Hunter McCullough, Ben Melchers, T.J. Murphy, Jamar Ramey Jr., Bryce Robinson, Cooper Wiles, Gabe Dayton, Sam DeWald, Carter Dugan, Corbin Dyke, Rector Henke, Lucas Myre, Jacob Oschlager, Jaden Reed, Connor Shelton, and Wyatt Williams. And again, guys, congratulations. That's an outstanding list there. And good stuff. And, Coach, I did not realize you were so tuned in with study halls and staying on top, which is a solid thing for the kids as it connects with football and obviously with the academic world.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if they aren't showing up to class and they're ineligible, they're no good for football, right? So
Right.
But that's not the only reason. As I worked at the college level and recruited high school kids for my first 3 years of coaching, and you get into some of these schools um, and you see how talented some of them are as football players, how talented some of them are in the classroom, and then you see the ones that are talented on the football field but maybe don't quite get it done in the classroom. My goal, I just want to make sure our kids have the tools that they need to be successful. And I know that not very many kids are going to play football after I get done with them here. We'll have a couple that go on and try and play at the collegiate level. But what is really important is getting that, diploma, graduate in high school in good standing, learning life lessons. There's times where our kids, my players, probably are like, "Is this guy serious?" 10 years from now, they're going to look back, and I'd like to hope that they think, "Man, he was right." If what's hard, if now is hard showing up to school and high school and living life, that they don't have no idea what's going to happen, what hits them once they graduate from here, and making sure that I'm teaching them those things. As somebody that's only 28 years old, I can kind of relate a little bit better, as somebody that's gotten out of it fairly recently and, did the right things in the classroom. But my goal, guys, I obviously want to win football games, but I also want to build champions in the classroom and for life. And obviously, those guys that you named off are really representing what we're trying to accomplish academically.
You're building good people. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the goal. We need better people in this world.
Coach, talk about some of the resources though that your program gives to your students and to your athletes so they can have that success.
Yeah, we have a mandatory study hall every Thursday during the season. We're in there for about an hour. Actually, I started bringing in Coach Neisler the last couple weeks, and we did some more, some mindfulness, some mental stuff. How can we perform at a higher level mentally? So not only were they getting study time, they were also learning something and talking with Coach Neisler during that period, which I think is awesome. Again, giving our AD a voice and making sure that he's heard. And then our tribe tutoring that we offer throughout the high school here for kids that do struggle or maybe get behind a little bit. We're able to get them to tutors, make sure that they're taken care of so that they can go and compete in their respective sport.
Mark, Tim?
I just think everything, things are, the listener, the viewers getting to hear today is just absolutely awesome. Tim and I have been around the programs forever. Tim, this is good stuff.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. Those sorts of things were never in place a long time ago, Coach. And I guess it's the changing times. The kids need every angle. There's no doubt about it. You're teaching them, hopefully, great work ethic, whatever that is, classroom, yep, football field, and for the majority of all of us, it's beyond that. And yep, life's tough enough. You better be equipped with some of the basic skills, and it sounds like you're trying to incorporate that into the kids.
Yeah, absolutely. My 3 years here, we've only had 2 ineligible, and that might be just for a week. They struggled a week or had a bad test. 2 ineligible, and that's saying something about our kids and what they do here, and extremely proud of them.
Yeah. And I'll brag your kids up. I'm involved with the Boys Girls Club fundraiser, and every year we look out, there you are with kids, and here we come again this year, and there you are again with kids, I'm sure.
Yeah, I want us to be seen, and I think when you take kids out into the community, you can teach them some things, right? Get them around different people, have them interact with different people, teaching life lessons and building connections, and I think that's a huge responsibility for me in the role that I'm in.
And talking about you mentioned the Boys and Girls Club fundraiser, Mark, and I know that's coming up here very soon. I don't know what the details are out on that, but stay tuned to some things around. I know there's some cool stuff coming with that in December. But I remember when we got invited as far as the basketball team, and Kenny Battle came. Mark and I actually interviewed Kenny Battle that day, but Kenny talked about his life journey, and it was a really cool mending of here are some kids that have maybe had some struggles in life and they've persevered. And then Kenny also talking about some of his stories, and you mentioned this, NBA player to someone who is in small town America who's struggling as well. And again, you see those things and you learn. I'm a big advocate of, as you talk to more people, as I talk to you, Coach, and as I talk to Mark and Tim, I become better, you become better, and the other two become better. I believe that to be very true. I also will say I think that it's a testament to Pontiac Township High School and the teachers and the staff and the faculty that are there. It is a great environment. Again, of course, I went through that school in the career center. I don't want to leave them out just because I think that is such a valuable resource to have that attached to the building, to be able to have that there. There's a lot of things I've learned in college too that, hey, I had this in high school pretty early, and this was something that was a standard in high school, and that they're teaching at a college level. So I think that's a testament to Pontiac Township High School as well. Mark, Tim, final thoughts as we talk success in the classroom.
I just believe and achieve. If it is to be, it's up to me. Those are some of the models these kids gotta go by.
Put it on a
I
T-shirt.
can't top that.
Yeah,
Put it on a
Coach,
T-shirt.
I like
you
that
use my
one.
stuff, Coach. I'll sell it to you.
I like it, Mark. I like it. Well, gentlemen, we're going to come back and talk about the last game of the year, game number 9, week number 9. When we come back, it's St. Joe Ogden and the Pontiac Indians. We'll be back right after the break.
Tomahawk Talk is built by Abraham Masonry. Tomahawk Talk is driven by Heller Motors. Tomahawk Talk is financed by the Bank of Pontiac. Tomahawk Talk is founded by Fellheimer Law Firm. DPI is a proud sponsor of Tomahawk Talk.
Welcome back, everyone, again here to Tomahawk Talk, episode number 4, driven by Heller Motors. Mark and Tim. Tim, you and I got to go over to St. Joe Ogden on what was a rather chilly night. Our camera guy, Ben, was stuck outdoors in what, at first, wasn't a terrible game, but I tell you what, St. Joe picked up the pace very quickly. And that game kind of got out of hand, but we went down to St. Joe land and saw week number 9.
No doubt. And for anybody who can remember back when football was conventional, you get in the huddle and you run 3 yards in a cloud of dust, and then there was the old run and shoot. Well, St. Joe Ogden, as a coach, and you and the kids found out, they were trying to run as many plays as possible, and they kept you on your toes and probably got you off balance as the game wore on. And I know you were dinged up defensively, especially in the secondary. And some kids weren't there, and they just kind of wore you out as that went on. But that was another experience. And to their credit, they ran that awfully well.
Yeah, I mean, they're really explosive offensively. They have been the last couple of years. Actually, never played against their offensive coordinator, but know him fairly well, and he was a quarterback there for them a couple of years before I got into high school. So, they're quick. Obviously, they do a tremendous job of mixing run and pass. Their quarterback is extremely talented. Does a really good job of just managing that offense, making sure it flows, making sure it runs efficiently. And like you mentioned, we were dinged up, had a lot of injuries defensively. And overall just couldn't find stops against a really tough offense. Going to the half, we're down 28-14. You feel good about a lot of the things that you're doing. And we just couldn't get anything going offensively there either in the second half. They did some really good things to adjust and slow our run game down, and we weren't able to convert on third downs efficiently enough. So, again, a really good team that's still playing. They won on a game-winning field goal last week against Benton. They played down south at Benton. And they'll play Roxana this week. So, again, another tough opponent, a team that, I feel like if we're healthy, we match up a little bit better with. They just have a ton of speed, and we were really, really thin on the defensive backfield side of things, and it inevitably showed.
Well, again, offensively, you moved the ball 20-20, and you put 14 points up. And the solid first half, I thought, offensively. And again, did make plays in the second half to was it a Brody Carr late touchdown?
Yeah, he scored on a 95-yard kickoff return,
Yep.
which is 7th all time in the school, 7th
Yep.
all time school record. So,
But to their credit, their best side of the ball is offensively.
yeah,
They might
yeah.
not be as good as what they had been in the past defensively, but they put the pressure on you offensively.
Well, and you go on the road, and you're playing a team that's 4-4, that's a playoff football team.
And they were coming off a big league loss the week before.
They lost a tough one on the road at Seneca,
Right.
another good football team. But no, we did some really good things offensively the last 3-4 weeks of the season.
Yep.
I felt like as a play caller, we could really start to let's go be aggressive. We've got these guys that can go make plays. Let's start taking some shots down the field. Let's start setting up some misdirection things a little bit more. I started to play with Ben Melchers down the stretch the last couple of weeks and putting him in the backfield, lining him up as like a H-back or tight end kind of kid, splitting him out in the slot. He's good at a number of things, and turning him into kind of a gadget type of guy. Now that we've got somebody that runs the ball at a high level, really excited about the pieces that we have moving forward, not only offensively but defensively as well.
Coach, you were able to see, your evolution over the course of the year. And I think St. Joe, the last time they were not in the playoffs, if I saw a graphic correctly, was I think in the 80s, maybe even. I mean, it's been a long time, I believe, is what that said, for that school. Nonetheless, you're playing these really tough opponents. Of course, we've talked about the conference a magnitude of times. Anyone that follows this knows that the conference is big. You play tough competition, but you see the evolution of your kids, and you see the evolution of what Pontiac football has been. And as you see that last buzzer, hear that last buzzer on week 9, you kind of get the second to breathe, and you look back and go, "This is what the year was like." What was your thoughts? As you reflect on the 9 weeks of this year.
That's a good question. I had a lot of fun coaching this group this year. I woke up last week, came to work with the season being over, and I didn't really know. I don't know. I love the process of it. I love practicing. I love game planning. I love, what is that other coach on the other side, thinking or putting together this week. I really miss that. I'm going to miss these seniors, these guys that I've had the last 3 years that have come just such a long way as not only football players, but as young men as they get ready to take the next step. And I get emotional thinking about it because I care so much about our kids, and it just so positive. A lot of positive things. I don't think there's one word or phrase that kind of describes this group. There's no doubt that the foundation has been laid. There's no doubt that our kids understand what to expect and what we're trying to accomplish as a football program, and those seniors have a lot to do with that. And obviously, it's bittersweet. You get to take a little bit of a break. I'd love to still be playing, but then, of course, me being who I am, I'm sitting here yesterday putting stuff together for next year already, and starting to move pieces around, and where can we fit kids, and how can these kids help us here and there, and start putting together your off-season schedule. So just a lot of positive things from this year. Really loved coaching this group. There was some times where we faced some adversity. You start the year 0-3, you're not real sure how things are going to go. But they didn't ring the bell. They responded. They kept moving forward. They kept getting better, and that's all you can ask for as a head coach.
Hey, Coach, as far as they had a big kid and a little chippy out in the football field in the second half, can you comment on that? I'm thinking of the St. Joe Ogden game.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, he's a highly touted player. He's got 20-some Division I offers. I think he just got offered. I think that week he got an offer from Tennessee.
Wow.
the week that we played.
And
I
we're
mean,
talking for folks who don't know, what, 6'6", 6'7",
I think he's
6'6"?
listed at 6'7", 300. He's just a junior yet, so we'll have to see him for another year. It was one of those things where we kind of tried to put Donovan on the opposite side to see if Donovan could take advantage of a weakness over there. Didn't like it. We ended up moving Donovan over where he played over the top of. One thing that they do really unique with him, and he's their left tackle, they'll split him out as a receiver and be a lead blocker and just throw a little swing screen
Right.
out to him. They'll move him around as like a tight end and pull him. So they do a lot of really good stuff, and he's a good player. And I challenged Donovan. I said, Donovan, there's 6'7", 300 Division I. Let's go see where we're at. And that's where things got a little chippy, and they competed, and it was just fun to watch our guys compete.
It was.
One of the best in the state.
Coach, did you say? Hi, dog. Did you say something about 6'7"? Have you heard that? Have you seen the meme going around?
Yeah, I've seen it. That's all we hear.
Yeah, I mean, that was a lob. That was a great lob. No, I think Tim and I were actually talking about that gentleman. During the broadcast, we weren't sure. Maybe it was off mic, but I think we weren't sure. Like, I think that was the kid that a year ago when he was, I think, a sophomore. Then, he already had a lot of offers there. So, you're playing a really stout opponent. Hopefully, maybe some of them kids, on the line can go, hey. I played against that kid in high school. If he goes on to the league or so on, or even if he goes on to college. It's cool. You learn our iron sharpens iron. You talk about it, and again, you talk about playing in this conference and the type of kids that play in this conference. A ton of athletes, a ton of talent. It's a tough conference. Again, we've mentioned it a lot, but it is. And the Indians I think they're starting to. They're earning they're earning their keep back a little bit, if you would.
We've got to get to a point. We've got to get to a point, guys, where we're consistently beating Rantoul, IVC, PBL, and Prairie Central. Those got to be consistent wins.
Yep.
And then we've got to find a way to win one of those other ones. That's just where we're at. That's where I'm at as we go into year 4 next year. Obviously, we've got a couple other shows, but as you rethink things and reevaluate or whatever you want to call it, that's what it's got to be. We've got to consistently win against Prairie Central, PBL, IVC, and Rantoul, and then find a way to get it done another game so we can find ourselves still playing in the playoffs.
Coach, is the non-conference game next year, is that set in stone? Is it Coal City? Are they down here?
Yeah, we'll be home versus Coal City, and we'll be ready to play.
Can't wait.
Sounds great.
Tell you what, I can't wait. It's soon. It's very soon. I think maybe even next year, and if not, 1,000% the year after. But I think we're going to see it next year, where Pontiac is playing in November on a Saturday, and like you mentioned earlier, Coach, that is going to do so much. That turnout for that game, it's going to be good. It's going to be really good. And I can't wait to see it. Gentlemen, we still have another show, believe it or not, here in a couple of weeks. We're going to talk about the banquet and kind of as the off-season rolls. So we won't get too deep into our seniors, and we won't talk too much about the off-season as this show begins to close because, again, we'll talk about it all in show number 5. Presented by DPI, actually. So, a little rhyme there. But we'll see that again here in a couple of weeks. Final thoughts. Mark, Tim, Coach, what do we got as we close out?
No, I tell you what, our seniors were wonderful to work, and the whole football program, you can see it change. It's not little by little. It's not baby steps. It's now going to work. And I tell you, I'm super, super excited. It's been a long time, Coach, for the process for you, I'm sure, to get it built where you want it. But you could definitely have a shot at those playoffs next year, and I wish you nothing but good luck in the offseason.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. Like I said before, you guys do so much for us and building excitement around our program and building excitement in the community. And I love being a part of a community that loves football. If it wasn't
speaking of that, Coach, my final thought is your home crowds were outstanding for where the program was and what it is, and they are showing up and they stayed. And kudos out to the marching Indians as well. The band. I know, obviously, you're at halftime, but we actually got a chance to catch them. I hope the listeners enjoyed that.
They're phenomenal, aren't they?
Yep, and all part of the pageantry of a Friday night. in Pontiac.
Yep. It's there's no place better, I don't think. And when we can start putting a good product out there and making it fun to watch,
No
it's
doubt.
going to be good. So
You got one. I tell you what, we're excited and can't wait for next year.
I tell you what, going against again the Williamson thought, it just there's something special when the lights come on at Williamson on a Friday. There really is, and unfortunately, I never made it to a home game this year. I had other commitments during some home games, and I never did make it. But man, it just there is something special about being there on a Friday night when the lights are on. For Mark Myre, for Tim Scott, I'm Jake Green. Coach Gadberry joined us as well. Again, we'll talk with seniors in our next episode. We'll talk about the banquet, of course, conference honors, program honors, and everything like that. We'll talk about, I know, some of the cheerleaders and what they have going on throughout the winter as far as cheer competitions and some stuff like that as that goes. And what the offseason looks like in Pontiac. Holiday tournament comes up. What your regiment looks like as far as football-wise over the winter and rolling into the spring. We'll talk about all that in episode 5. But for now, Coach Gadberry, Tim Scott, Mark Myre, I'm Jake Green. Thank you all. Again, it's episode number 4, season 1, here, driven by Heller Motors and, of course, presented by the Friends of Pontiac Football. This is Tomahawk Talk. Gentlemen, have a great day. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Please comment, subscribe, share it. Let us know if you like what we're doing. Pretty soon, we're gonna look into it and see, are we doing this again next year? And I think the answer is going to be yes. So, everyone, thank you, Coach, Mark, Tim. Goodbye, everyone.